Joining us in studio now is Julia Haart, an American fashion designer and businesswoman, and her daughter Miriam, both stars of the Netflix show My Unorthodox Life. First of all, I have to say, I've not been in Gaza. I've been down south. I have not been able to get access into Gaza, Julia, and some other journalists too, so we're very jealous. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's just talk about, first of all, the decision, you, Miriam, your family, to come to Israel at this time.
So, I think that for most of us in America, as much as we are really experiencing this incredible increase of anti-Semitism, people are afraid to go out on the street. My daughter is in NYU. There's so many incidents of anti-Semitism in the colleges. Here, on the ground, this is where, to me, the fight for humanity's soul is taking place. And I didn't want to support from the comfort of my couch. I wanted to come here, be with my people, and show my physical support by putting myself in harm's way, like every single 23-year-old who's sitting there, who should be in a college, who should be enjoying life, sitting there fighting for the rights and freedoms of every ethnicity and every religion that exists within the state of Israel.
Right. Miriam, NYU happens to be my alma mater from a long time ago as well. You're a young person of that generation and someone who's publicly identified as Jewish in a big way. Talk about that, because what we're seeing from here has been shocking for some of us on the campuses.
It's been shocking for me too. I have no words. Honestly, I've lost so many friends through this experience. I never was faced with any sort of conflict in my liberal groups and my queer community where people were so divided because of what's going on right now. And so because of that, that's why I think it's so important for me to be using my platform to talk about what's happening in Israel, because there aren't enough young people that are saying that Israel is actually fighting for democracy above all, and that we're fighting for everyone's right to exist.
Right. Now, you've been here. I see you've been meeting with, for example, some of the hostage families, the Wenkert family. I've spoken to them too. Tell us about your impressions meeting with some of the people here, especially those people who still have family members as hostages, and some of them that have returned.
Well, yesterday we went to the hostage forum.
Yeah,
and we met with a lot of families who still have hostages that are missing, that are stolen, that need to be returned instantaneously. And as you said, we went to the Wenkert family for Friday night Shabbat dinner. And there's several things that really are so powerful. And I'll start with the Shabbat dinner. I sat around a table of people who have devoted their lives to helping others. They are nurses. There wasn't a single woman at the table who hadn't or wasn't currently a nurse, other than a woman who was a therapist. These are people who spend their entire lives helping others. And then we met with, I'm so sorry, I'm abysmal with names, we met with some extraordinary families. One of them was this young man whose grandparents were both kidnapped, and his grandmother was returned, and his grandfather is still missing. And here's what really shocked me. Both of his grandparents were pacifists who were purposefully and continuously going into Gaza, bringing people out of Gaza and bringing them to Israeli hospitals. By the way, Israeli hospitals always take everyone, Muslim, Druze, Christian, it doesn't matter. And what he said to me was, that when we used to talk about Gaza in my family, my grandmother would say, look, Hamas throws rockets at us, but in Gaza, they have to live with Hamas every day. This was a family of people who were supporting the Palestinians, who were literally putting themselves out of their way, supporting, helping, volunteering, and these were the people that were taken. And explain to me how anyone with a modicum of intellect can look at 87-year-old people and tell me that kidnapping them, tormenting them, is somehow a fight for freedom.
Well, and tearing down their posters on the streets of New York, as we're seeing, unfortunately, a lot of young people doing, Miriam.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I think that my generation right now are so idealistic. They're so into this idea that ceasefire seems to be the easiest thing to do. It seems that, putting weapons down seems like the best, but they're not real. They're not actually looking at what is going to protect the most people, and that's getting rid of Hamas.
Right. Now, tell us about going into Gaza itself. A lot of the people have gone down south, which you're in range of the rockets that we've seen, but actually, I think you're the first that I've seen who actually stepped foot within Gaza itself. How did that come, and your impression of that?
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing that really hit me when I walked into the army base there is the vast array of people. people think IDF, they think Jews, and unfortunately the world doesn't really care very much about Jews. I think that's been proven time and time again. But the Israeli army is made up of Druze. It's made up of Bedouin Arabs and Muslims. It's made up of black people and white people. It's made up of gay people and straight people. The Israeli army is a bastion of freedom, of democracy. To me, it should be lauded and held up as an example of what an army should look like. And you know who the commander was that led me? A woman. Women are in places of true combat command. This is a group of people shoulder to shoulder, different religions, different ethnicities who are fighting. And then we went into Gaza, and unfortunately when we were there, literally, we walked a certain path into a town that had been decimated because of the fact that there were weapons and grenades and guns and rocket launchers housed in houses where their little children were. And literally down the block, 3 soldiers were killed while we were there. And I am, every single death, it's incomprehensible to me, the pain that these families are feeling. These are kids, they're 22-year-old kids that are forced to fight and defend the rest of the world. So I think, we all see these very sad and difficult images coming out of Gaza. You see Palestinian children killed, you see houses demolished. What people don't understand is it is not the IDF that is creating that. If Hamas surrounds themselves with little children and installs weapons into the homes of civilians, are those civilian homes or are they weapon depots? Are they military installations? The unfortunate truth is, it is not the Jewish people, Israel, or the IDF that is putting the Palestinian people in danger.
Right.
It is indisputably and irrevocably proven that it is Hamas.
Right. I want to ask you both, because you both, of course, have big social media followings. Appearing on My Unorthodox Life, you did, both of you, receive criticism, and we discussed this when I interviewed you earlier this year about that program, from some elements in the Jewish community that were not happy with your lifestyle choices or the way they said you were depicting the background that you come from. Now you're here in Israel, you're presenting to the world and to an audience and to maybe people who would not be exposed to the kind of message that you've been giving there and here in the studio this evening. What kind of feedback are you getting now, especially including from the same Jewish community that to some degree pilloried you for My Unorthodox Life?
I think I got most of the heat for that, so I'm going to take that question.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I think that for the first time, people are realizing that the love that I'm showing now is the love I showed then. To me, demanding change, demanding equality for women, wanting my old community to enable women to go to college, to go to universities, to have optionality and self-determination, that doesn't come from hate. It comes from a deep and abiding internal love. I love women, I love my people, I'm proud to be a Jew. And what's been really beautiful is that those same people who a year or two ago yelled at me and hated me are coming forward and saying, okay, now we understand you, Julia. We should have listened to what you were saying. We really see that you do love being a Jew and you do love the Jewish people. So I'm actually, very grateful to these people for coming forward. It's not an easy thing to do, and I'm really very touched and honored that they've done so.
Okay, well, glad to hear that. You mentioned the sacrifices being made by these young people. I do want to, while you're here in studio, if it's okay, mention another soldier who did fall in combat this week. That is Reserve Sergeant First Class Joseph Gitarts, who was killed in the south of Gaza this week from an anti-tank missile. Now, this 25-year-old wrote a sealed letter to his parents when he was called up for duty on October 8th to be opened by them in the event of his death. Now, his family has now shared this letter with this public, and we're going to share it with you now.
Dear Mom and Dad, I love you very much. Everything is as it should be. I myself chose it. I lived a good and interesting life. At the same time, I was never afraid of death. I made this choice myself, and I followed it to the end. I fell honorably for my people. I have no regrets. I love you very much, and I'm proud that you are my parents. You gave me a lot. I had a very interesting, rich, happy, unique life. My death only emphasizes that. You are certainly in a lot of pain, but you will overcome it. I would really like that. This is the main thing I want. You both have many close people who will support you. Please find something positive in all of this. Be with the grandchildren. Help Israel. I'm fine.
Miriam, I want to ask you, as a young, can you imagine a young person, someone of your generation, having the wherewithal to write that letter to his parents and then go off facing possibly his end?
I don't have words. I mean, I'm 23, and we just met a hostage family where the brother that we met, his brother who's a hostage, was also 23. And to me, so many people that are taken hostage right now, they could be my college roommates. You know, they could be my friends. They are my friends. And so I have no words, because this country is built on the backs of the young people that are keeping it alive. And it's so painful to see how grown up everyone is. The 2-year-old, we met the hostage family that their father was taken from them, and the 2-year-old ran to the baby and said, "I'll take care of you now." A 2-year-old. That is what being Israeli means right now. It means being an adult, being awake despite your age, and the world doesn't realize that these are good people.
Right. Just last thing, I don't know if you've heard the news out of New York. A group of pro-Palestinian, you might say pro-Hamas demonstrators blocked the roads leading to John F. Kennedy Airport. Simultaneous demonstration by protest outside LAX, Los Angeles Airport. This on one of the busiest days of the year, people coming home from Christmas. Just the things that you've seen in the city that you know and live in, disrupting Christmas tree celebrations, and plus the manifestations of anti-Semitism. Again, you're both public Jewish figures. I wonder about how you feel about that, and maybe some of your personal concerns there.
Well, you know, we've definitely gotten a lot of death threats, messages that if I read aloud would make your hair stand on end. And, you know, there's something wrong when the left, when what we always assumed were our people, liberal people, and skinheads are chanting the same thing. And, you know, I met with a lot of Muslim people when I came purposefully, because I wanted to show the rich variety of people who live in Israel. We've met with so many transgender Muslims and Druze. We've met with a massive amount of the LGBTQI community. We went to a hairdressing school that was purposefully made for women escaping extremist communities. And they had one message to America and the outside world: stop supporting Hamas. You are signing our death sentence. People don't understand that Hamas does not stand for freedom. Under Hamas rule, women have no rights, gays have no rights. Where are all the other religions in Hamas? It doesn't exist, because it is a fundamentalist, extremist culture that states either you believe in Sharia law and everyone has to be a Muslim, or off with your head. How can anyone in a free world support that? And, you know, there's a lot of similarities between now and World War II. And to me, there are 3 groups of people. They are the Nazis, the people who are actually Nazis, the SS, the Gestapo, the people who joined to kill Jews. Then there's a second group, and those were the people who just, I don't understand, I don't want to get involved, I want to live my life, I don't want to get in trouble. And then the third group of people who hid Jews, who screamed, who yelled, who fought. And we're standing here now. And you know what people say? Oh, Hamas is very popular now. Being pro-Palestinian is very popular. So is Nazism. And then the world adjusts and recognizes truth. And I think people need to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I'm not actually pro-Palestinian, I'm just an anti-Semite, and I need to fix that, because the world will remember me as an anti-Semite.
All right, well, hopefully that message, some people will have that moment of truth, that cheshbon nefesh.
There you go, cheshbon nefesh, exactly.
In the Jewish tradition. Julia, Miriam Haart, thank you, first of all, for coming to Israel at this time, and thank you for joining us on I-24 News.
Thank you so much.